Chair Pete Perez. Good afternoon. I'm Chair Pete Perez. I'd like to welcome you to the September 24, 2025 Public Art and Cultural Commission meeting. This is a special administrative meeting to handle some outstanding matters. We've got 9 members of the committee, and I'll do roll call in a minute so you'll know who they are. All committee members and staff are participating virtually. We appreciate your patience on that if we have any technical difficulties. We're streaming live on our virtual engagement hub that's accessible through the hub link on the front page of the city website. It's also linked on the Public Art Cultural Commission webpage and the City of Asheville website. If you don't have access to that, we also have a live by phone option. And if you're interested in that, dial 855-925-2801. That's 855-925-2801. And the meeting code is 9182. For those of you that are out there with us today, welcome. I'll now go through and introduce all committee members who are participating virtually. Please make sure you mute your microphone if you're not speaking. If you have a question, please unmute your microphone. Remember to mute your phone after you're done speaking. Committee members, I'll call your name. Just give us a quick hello. Brent Skidmore. Katie Cornell.
Here.
Charlie Huguenard.
Here.
Kimberly Perrier.
Here.
Rachel Hansen. Alexandria Monique Rodinell.
Present.
Myself here. Shirley Walker Whitesides. And Pat Kappas.
Here.
So to start the agenda items, we'll move along, look at each section out loud and do a vocal roll call for each vote. We've got a presentation that Stephanie's going to be doing and some work that we have to be able to go through. So Stephanie, I'll turn that over to you.
Hi, everyone. I hope that you're doing well. We have a lot of staff here to try to support us through this meeting. We're missing Carly Stevenson today, but she sends her hellos. You all received the agenda in advance of the meeting. This first item is approval of the draft minutes from September 2024.
So I could get a motion to approve those?
I move to approve.
Carly, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? All opposed? Thank you.
From what we've heard, Pete Perez has decided that he's got to pay attention to other pressing issues. He's been paying attention to so many pressing issues for the city of Asheville and the region, especially around public art and culture, for a long time. I don't anticipate that he's going to stop paying attention to those issues. He's just going to refocus. Pete, would you like to share a couple words while we consider?
Sure. Katie actually recruited me onto this commission. Katie, was probably almost 6 years ago now. So we've been on here. We've seen a lot of change, and I think we're positioned really well. We've got the best commission that's been on board, at least in the time that I've been here. And I'm really just at a point in my life that I need to have more balance than I do. I tend to say yes too much, and Katie knows that better than anybody, and I get myself in trouble. So I'm just looking to be able to create more balance, particularly as I age and lose the boundless energy that I once had. But it's been a real great honor working with this group. I've learned so much, and just to wish everybody well going forward. And we'll be real supportive in any way I can of the transition.
Pete, we're really appreciative of you. Let's all give Pete our virtual round of applause and a big thank you. While we are going to be having elections later on in the meeting, Pete is going to be chairing the entire meeting, just to clarify for folks. Okay. Our first order of business is to receive a presentation on the Recovery Board's framework for the Public Art and Cultural Commission. So with this presentation, what staff hopes to accomplish is to help you see yourself in this new framework, for you to learn more, because I'm sure you've learned a lot already about what this Recovery Board framework is going to look like for the next year and a half, and a little bit of time to present us with questions. We might not have all the answers, but we can work with our clerk's office and our city manager's office to address anything you might be able to throw at us. So I'm going to get started unless there's any questions in advance. All right, thank you. So as you likely know, the city, through City Council, established 4 temporary Helene Recovery Boards to support recovery efforts after Tropical Storm Helene. These recovery boards are really council's idea of how we can better align the community input and public participation with expertise that we have from folks with the projects that we're working on and the governance structure that we have during these few first years of recovery. So they are people in the environment, housing, infrastructure, and the economy. And those are basically aligned with the principles and priorities that council set up earlier this year at their retreat. So those boards are going to be stood up likely in November, and they'll be meeting until June 2027. I'm not sure. We don't know yet because they haven't met, and it requires collaboration and thought and to being intentional. How often they're going to meet? They're going to figure that out. But we do know that the role of existing advisory boards during that time is going to be that you are going to meet as needed only. You can continue to provide expertise, community input, and help the city develop policy recommendations in a variety of ways that look different from the way that you are normally, or maybe not because of the storm, but generally pretty regularly used to providing advice to council. So lastly, there are some boards that perform development review functions. They're chartered in our by state. For example, our Planning and Zoning Commission. Those boards have already been back up and running, and they're going to continue to meet on their regular meeting schedule. So each of these recovery boards, those 4 boards, is going to have 11 members. 7 of those members are appointed from the existing chairs or vice chairs, or the chairs or vice chairs designees from current boards. And so 4 to 5 remaining seats are going to be appointed by council from the community at large. And that appointment process is basically up and running now. We'll talk about the appointment dates in just a minute here. Like any of the other advisory boards, the 4 Helene Recovery Boards are going to be supported by staff. So just so you know, because you guys know a lot of people in the city, the boards that this group is most closely connected to are Economy, and that is going to be chaired by Chris Corral. Or not chaired, that's going to be supported by Chris Corral as the primary staff. He's going to be leading that. And then Infrastructure is going to be led by D. Tyrell McGirt from our Parks and Recreation Department. And he's very well integrated into all of our infrastructure work that we're doing here at the city. So just like in the past with advisory boards, they're also going to be streamed online and accessible to the public. All the meetings will be posted. They will follow all the regular meeting laws, just like you have for the last, however many years you've been on here. But Public Art and Cultural Commission being up and running for about 20 years now. So we'll talk in depth about this, but the work plans of each of those boards is going to basically be based on council committee assignments and needs of the department and city council as a body. So you can see here that you guys are underneath Economy and Infrastructure, and you can see all the other boards that are also making appointments to those boards. So I'm not going to read out the Housing Recovery Board scope, but you can take a look at it on your own time. I do want to take a minute to talk about economy, because that is a board that you are making appointments to. And so I won't bury the lead here. Pat Kappas has already stepped up and says that she will serve on this board. So this board is going to be providing input on policy recommendations that promote post-disaster economic recovery, such as rebuilding and revitalizing the local economy. Pretty broad. Also providing input to City Council on recommendations that expand local economic resilience and diversification. These, again, are council priorities that they had set up earlier this year. And emphasizing land management best practices. So that's a lot of potential comp plan and UDO work. And the strategic use of city-owned and newly acquired land. That's land that might be coming in from the hazard mitigation grant program process, so that we can promote some of our other objectives that from our adopted goals and policies. That's like placemaking, community vitality, sustainable long-term growth. There's also the need to talk about workforce development programs, to talk about expanding the city's contractor pool so we can improve our capacity for recovery. We have a lot of projects. You guys know we've gotten a lot of funding from CDBG-DR and other places through federal and state. We also will use this board to talk about strengthening outreach to businesses, especially small and underrepresented businesses, and navigating any of post-disaster recovery challenges. Really, this is that part where advisory boards have expertise, but also networks in the community that the city might not have, and making sure that the city really understands what the needs are on the ground. So for the infrastructure board, which you're also have an open appointment for, this is looking at the strategic rebuild of our damaged infrastructure with the focus on long-term resilience, and also advising or providing input to council on our water system resilience, including flood management, stormwater infrastructure, reduction of future flood risks. Looking at city parks, greenway, and recreation infrastructure, prioritizing these big projects and providing input on resilience measures for our park enhancements. Hopefully you all are a little bit aware that our French Broad recreation area project is kicking off, and council has authorized that contract fairly recently. Looking at infrastructure is also looking at partnerships, funding programs that can help us boost that level of resiliency. Again, we know that folks in our community work all across the world with different organizations that might be able to help us meet some of our goals. I'm going to skip reading this one, although, again, I encourage you to take a look at it because all of these things are pretty interconnected. Just skipping it since you all aren't technically making an appointment to this board. So our next steps. This Sunday, September 28th, is technically the deadline for making those appointments. That's the number one reason that you're meeting today, is that Pete wanted to make sure that you could meet this appointment date. And as I noted, really those two seats are reserved for the chair and vice chair, but it's like for their designees as well. And Pete wanted to bring this to the entire group to discuss today. You can also just flat out apply to be on any of these other boards. So again, there's going to be 4 or 5 seats open per board. The city council very much wants you to think about what your connections are to these other pieces of recovery. You might have a great network and be a big asset, no matter that you're on the Public Art and Cultural Commission. So please consider applying. Note that City Council is going to make those final appointments on October 14th. So before I move on, any questions on just the general kind of basics of the recovery boards and membership numbers, anything like that. Okay, so I'm going to talk now about task assignments and how it's decided what those recovery boards will actually work on. So there's both a top-down and a bottom-up way of thinking about how assignments can be made. So generally, this is going to be for advisory boards like you moving forward, not the recovery boards. So advisory boards like the Public Art and Cultural Commission are only going to be meeting as needed, and they will need to be assigned a task if they are going to meet. So that task can be assigned by council as a whole, a council committee through a vote, or department directors. So I have that discretion. And if you are interested in meeting, you need to get approval, what that means from council committee, or myself. So if you have an idea about what I'm going to talk in a second, idea about what this group should be working on, there's a method for that. But the top-down way is, hey, council has an idea. They want to do a memorial for Helene. They're going to call the Public Art and Cultural Commission back up, and they're going to say, we want you to meet for 3 months and give us a recommendation on what that scope of work should look like. And then you will fulfill the task, and then you won't meet again until you're called back up. So that could be a council or council committee. So does that make sense to everybody? Does everybody get that level of, I'm seeing nods? Fabulous. We'll move on. And here's the bottom up way. And this is great because I think this has never been clarified in this way before. And this gives us a real clear path moving forward. So you're a member of an advisory board and you think there's something that an advisory board should be working on. So there's all these ways to do it. One is you can go to, say, Pat, because she's going to be on the economy board, and you say, I think that we need to be working on something in conjunction with the economy board. Can you bring it up to the board? Pat can then do that, and that board can then socialize it with their corresponding council committee, which in this case is going to be the Planning, Economic Development, and Environment Committee of City Council. You could communicate that idea directly to a council committee. You could basically just go to public comment and say, here I am, public comment. I think that this board should be working on something. You can do the exact same thing at city council meetings or through an email to all of city council through public comment. And then the other thing is you can ask the board chair of your board to present the idea to me, the department director, and just say, hey, department director, you have the ability to assign us a task. I think this task needs to be signed. So those are your pathways. And I just want to make sure that that makes sense before I move on. I'm seeing nods again. Great. So here's some next steps. As noted, you're going to have meetings when directed by council committee, or the department director. There's going to be a specific task or request. And each one of those is going to include a kind of timeline or deadline associated with it. There'll be a report out that you do to whomever assigned you the task, and then you'll include until there's a new one. So I just want to talk for a second about the types of tasks that we think. I'll put this on the questions discussion. The first thing I want to do for the discussion is say, here's an example of something that we as staff think that the Public Art and Cultural Commission will be called back to discuss. So there are 2 initiatives happening right now where we're looking at how to improve the way we provide the public art service to the community in general. One of those is the Buncombe County Arts and Culture Plan that's being led by Arts ABL. They have several objectives in that plan. One of them is to think about how that service can be delivered in a more effective manner using partnerships, providing more opportunities to grow our local artists, looking at ways other folks have been doing that. Similarly, Carly has been charged by the city manager to do some of her own research that will augment or support that work that's going to be happening with the arts and culture plan. And I think Katie can speak to it if people have questions. She's going to be looking a lot at best practices and talking to other staff in other places, especially in North Carolina, who have a similar legislative framework as we do. We fully anticipate that once there are any recommendations from either of those processes, we would be assigning a task to the Public Art and Cultural Commission to review those recommendations and to provide feedback on them, and potentially at some point even to provide some kind of vote or resolution to City Council that might say what a priority might look like moving forward to improve the program. So do people understand that example or have questions? I'm seeing nods again. Right. Another example of something that we might call you up on is if we have a piece of public art in the city's collection that needs to be, say de-accessioned. We actually have one right now that we are considering. You all know about this. This is the S&W marker that is being replaced. So in order to fulfill this policy around de-accessioning pieces of art that we have in our collection, we would ask you to meet, we'd give you a deadline, you'd perform that task, and then you would go back to being as needed. So at this time, if you have any questions about this framework or specific, it doesn't have to be about Public Art and Cultural Commission, but specific to advisory boards moving forward or specific to this commission, we're happy to hear them.
Just one quick procedural question. What kind of turnaround time is expected for when a task is assigned to when the meeting actually happens?
Mm-hmm. It's going to depend on the task, and I think there is room for input from members of the commission, especially the chair, to make that a realistic turnaround time. I'll give you an example. I've already charged the Urban Forestry Commission with providing feedback on the public engagement plan for the Urban Forestry Master Plan, and they have just over a month to do that. And they have the ability to meet first to discuss the assignment and have a quorum. They have an ability then to meet as a working group in small groups and not have quorums in between. And then they have a report out meeting. So that task has two full meetings and some working group time built in.
And is that scheduling of meetings supported by the city staff, or is that?
It is.
Okay.
Other than the working groups that do not require a quorum.
Cool.
It's a great question, and I will reiterate that we're working closely with the city clerk's office to make sure that we are meeting all of those transparency, accessibility goals, as well as the legal requirements. Okay, great. It sounds like, and I don't want to cut anything off, but I do want to move us along and say that, you've got the recovery board appointments right now. Pat is going to take on the economy board. There is this infrastructure recovery board open seat. At this time, I would like the chair to facilitate any discussion to determine who might be interested and how you all can make that appointment. Oh, you are on mute still. Thank you, Pete.
You're muted.
There you go. So is anybody on this call interested or have any thoughts on who would be good for that, particularly that recovery board? That's going to be really important. They're going to be right in the center of everything that's going to create leverage for where we're going. So I'll just throw it open. Anybody personally interested or have anybody that you think would be good to consider for this?
I'd like to volunteer. It aligns with my experience. So
Great. Anybody else have interest in that? Anybody else have anybody that's not on this commission that we think we should consider that may be valuable to this? Okay. So Stephanie, we go to vote on this, or? Now you're muted. I guess I gave you the disease.
You can just make the appointment, so you don't
Okay.
need to have a resolution or a vote. It's your prerogative.
Beautiful. Thank you for stepping up, Charlie. So we will be appointing Charlie to that recovery board open seat.
awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
So at this time, we're going to move on to the officer elections moving forward. There, I think, was an informal process to see if there were any nominations that people had in advance of this meeting, but there is time to take any nominations right at this meeting. And to clarify, I believe, Pat, you are willing to take on the chair seat. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so right now our nominations include Pat Kappas for chair. Are there any other nominations for vice chair or for chair? I will encourage everyone to think about taking on, especially this vice chair slot. It's fun. You get to work with Pat Kappas. She's a smart cookie.
I'd like to nominate Charlie.
Carly, are you accepting the nomination?
Yes, I do. Thanks.
Okay.
Beautiful.
We have a slate of Pat Kappas for chair and Charlie, I'm going to botch this, Huguenard.
You got it.
I didn't botch it. Great. For vice chair, are there any other nominations? So for this vote, I'm going to have the current chair call the vote. You will need to do a roll call vote. So each person will need to, once the nomination, and I'm going to say, since you have no other nominations, you can do this as one combined motion, and then just take the roll call. So I think the motion would look something like I nominate to elect Pat Kappas as chair and Charlie Huguenard as vice chair. And then we would need a second, and then Pete will take the roll call.
Sounds good. So we are going to put forward and nominate Pat Kappas, who is the current vice chair, as the new chair of the Public Arts Cultural Commission, and Charlie Huguenard, who has been very engaged as the vice chair. So I'm going to take a roll call vote on that. If you would answer either A or I or nay. Katie Cornell,
Aye.
Kimberly Prier,
Aye.
Alexandria Monique Cornell.
Yay.
I vote yay. Pat Kappas, I guess you couldn't do that, or Charlie couldn't do it. We will assume your yeses for.
You can have, yeah, it would be good to have them to confirm.
On the record?
We need them
Okay.
as a quorum. Yep, they need a vote.
Charlie, I'll go for you first,
I
and Pat.
Aye.
So congratulations. It's been a joy working with Pat in his vice chair role. I mean, she's got so many connections, and Charlie, ever since you came on with us, you've been really engaged, willing to really put a shovel in the dirt and help make things moving forward. So really appreciate both of you stepping up. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
thank you.
And like we've talked about, Pat, anything I can do in the transition, just let me know. Same thing with you, Charlie.
I appreciate that.
So normally at this point, Stephanie, we would do public comment, but since we're recording, what are the instructions for?
We do not have the ability to take public comment by phone. However, I can tell you that no public comment was received by email in advance of the meeting. And if people are watching this at home after the meeting has taken place, you can send your public comment to SDAHL, SDAHL at asheville.nc.gov and put PACC, public comment, in the subject line, and I will make sure it gets to the Public Art and Cultural Commission.
Beautiful. Thank you, Stephanie. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this slide just reiterates some of the things that we've already discussed, is that you are now on an as needed, on-demand basis. I mentioned some of the ways that you may be called up. We do have time to, I think you also at the end of your meeting, before we adjourn, I'll say, if you wanted to do the round the table that you normally do to share out arts and culture events, or to ask questions of each other about things that are going on, you certainly have the time on the schedule.
So let's go ahead and do that, because it's been a while since we've been together. Everybody's got different things going on with you. Katie, let's start with you. I know you got a lot going on. Tell us about it.
Sure. RCVL released 2 different reports last week, updates on the creative economy. So the creative economy snapshot, and we also did a contribution study for arts and culture in Buncombe County. So you can go to artsavl.org if you want to see those reports. But it really shows how important the arts are to Asheville and Buncombe County, and how important they'll be in recovery. So very reaffirming what we already knew, but it was good to see. And then, as Steph mentioned, ArtsAVL is leading an arts recovery planning process right now. We're working with firm Lord Cultural Resources to do that. And so that plan should be completed by June 2026. And so we definitely hope to engage this commission, particularly around the discussions around public art. The county released their Helene recovery report, and one of their strategic priorities listed in that report is public art. So there's interest in really broadening, expanding the county's public art program as well. So some bigger, larger discussions happening, and really want to hear from this group as we move forward with those conversations.
Beautiful. Alexandria, what do you got going on?
Thank you. I'm so happy to see everybody. Couple of things. At YMI, we're going to start a jazz series with Kelly Jolly and Will Boyd. Really excited about that. It's going to be the 4th Friday and Saturday. And so we're hoping to do this monthly. So just put it on your calendar or look at YMI's website to follow along. Noir is having its regular first city celebration after a little hiatus. Some weather thing happened. And then lastly, we're launching this creative business story collecting and resource gathering for our micro businesses who were impacted by the storm, but did not receive funding for all the reasons you already know, so I won't reiterate. And so we are launching that October 14th, and I don't know where we're going with it, but we do know how important it is to have these stories and to figure it out ourselves, in other words. So that's what I've got going on, and thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly?
Hi, everybody. So I think this is actually my first Public Art and Culture Commission meeting. So thanks for having me. But I'm happy to be here. The main thing I will relay is that we are still, so I'm here representing Explore Asheville, and we have the second mural for the Asheville Black Cultural Heritage Trail that is in the works right now. I expect work to start on that. This one will be for the river area section of the trail. Work should start next month, and our goal is, weather cooperates, is that it would be done by Saturday, November 8th. But at the latest by the end of the year is the goal. So you will be seeing that one coming up soon.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Mhm.
John, you've had a full summer of events. Give us an update on what you've had going on.
Wow. Yeah, well, we've had a lot. Looking at our schedule for the past month, we had Goombay on the first weekend of September, and the second weekend of September, we had the Asheville Ballet in the park. Last weekend, we had a Star Tribe dance party. This weekend, we have Blue Ridge Pride. So we've had a busy season, and we have a busy October coming up as well. And in the months of August, which are generally our slower months, we saw an increase in the number of private property permits. And we're also seeing a new set of permits for fall events on private properties that we've never seen before, because our office just started doing private properties this year. So we've been doing the Christmas tree lots that we see on the streets, and pumpkin sales, things like that, all new stuff. We had a great Boomtown Festival in August. They're working with the symphony to try to return next year. Also next year, we have the Highwire Act that I might have mentioned before coming back again. This time they have the desired weekend they've been waiting for 3 years to acquire. But now questioning whether they want to keep that weekend all for themselves, or whether they'd be willing to add a Highwire element to next year's Boomtown Festival. So that's all kind of coming together now. So that's kind of just a quick, short and sweet about what we've been doing. We've been very busy. Yes, Katie?
We forgot to talk about the event support grant.
Yes, the event support grant, that's for sure. That's going on. We've got a little flag up on our website to let people know it's there. We've been sharing information. We got the mini grant this year, well, really through the end of 2026, a mini grant can be used. So
the deadline for the regular grant process for the larger events and festivals for the event support grant is October 14th. We're taking those applications now, rcbl.org/ESG. And then we have added a new mini grant, up to $1,000 grant for fee waivers for smaller events, in hopes that we can drive some more participants downtown and in other impacted commercial districts. So that is a new added addition, and we're very excited about it. And that will be rolling through the end of next year.
Awesome. John, before you go, how's that new process working that you worked with Brett and I on as you use that different time?
Yeah, it's working really well. We've not had the opportunity to exercise it more than a couple times, but both times was really great results. I feel like we're getting down to the information that we were trying to get to initially. So yeah, that worked out well.
Good. Thank you. Charlie?
Hey, so it's funny. I was looking at the minutes from the last meeting, and the thing that I brought up was the Foundation Skate Park fundraiser, which happens this year on October 25th. So as a lot of y'all probably know, the skate park in Foundy was one of the only things in the lower River Arts district that survived the flood. And it's not only a place to skate, but it's a community gathering place and a place to display mural art, and the park itself is a giant concrete sculpture. So we're raising funds for that. There's going to be an event during the day on October 25th, and then at the Orange Peel there's going to be a concert, and then some live puppetry by Dennis McNett. So yeah, be sure to check it out.
Beautiful. Thanks, Charlie. And last but definitely not least, our new chair, Pat.
Thanks, Pete. It's so great to see everybody and hear about all these events and feel connected to these awesome offerings and opportunities. This is not my event, but I'm planning to go to the Marquee grand reopening tomorrow evening, which is so great to see life coming back to that part of RAD. But the only other thing I wanted to say is thanks again to Pete for your amazing service and all your support and guidance along the way, and just being such a rock for this process and this committee. So thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie, I think that's it for business except for the adjournment, correct? John, did you have a, go ahead, John, you can make a comment about it.
I was just wanting to share with everyone that the Uncommon Market, previously held at the Marquee, had moved to, I think, AV Tech temporarily, but they're finally getting back in place in October for their final market of the year. So looks like it's going to be a really good one. I just got their site plan today.
Beautiful, beautiful. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Well, it was really good seeing everybody. It feels like it's been a year, a long time since we've all been together. So appreciate the support. All the best to Pat and Charlie going forward. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Charlie, and second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Thank you all. Thank you, Stephanie, for the in-depth coverage of, there was a lot of things going on there. You did a good job pulling it together. So thank you, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.